Hi, everyone. I'm going to start welcoming you here to Gov School this afternoon. Just as a reminder, please maintain your mute status until we call on you. That always helps out because everyone else is trying to enjoy the room as well. Keeps the background. If I mute you, it's not personal. It's just to help make sure that we maintain a solid sound and audio. Okay. It's always helpful if you want to ask a question, just to raise your hand. Technically speaking, you can come in and do that with the old-fashioned symbol that's on the Zoom setup. Okay, this is live on YouTube, so welcome all those who are on YouTube now and other sources of locations to watch this. We certainly appreciate you coming today. We're going to spend 30 minutes together. This is going to be a little bit quicker than my normal process, only because it's a 5 o'clock session. I like to try to do them at different times for our membership, so we can reach a larger audience. Our goal is to help you not only find but win the RFP that's presented itself to you and that you got an interest in. And so I'm going to give you some tricks to help you do that today. Okay, give me just a minute here. Well, make sure my phone is turned off. Okay. So people are coming into the room. I'll get started at 5:03 usually. Okay. I'll go ahead and start answering some questions. One is that it is recorded on YouTube Live. You just go to youtube.com/govdirections and you click on the live tab, and you'll find this after the session. Okay. In addition, I always drop in some goodies in the chat box. I'm going to go ahead and give you a little pamphlet that I've written to help you out. Okay. And you can download that if you like. And also going to give you the slide deck that we have today. And that's what I have for you. If you have interest in other products that you see today, you need to give us a call at GovDirections, 800-492-8523, and we'll certainly try to help you best we can. We are a pay service, so it is important to remember that some of this is proprietary and we have it there for you, but I really do like to try to help you the best I can. We have a very fair process, and we want to make sure that you're out there winning. Okay, so here are the slides in the chat. Okay, and then next I'm going to put the pamphlet that I wrote. It's called the RFP. It's a quick way to learn how to read an RFP. And there, I'm going to drive that. Since I drive that, I'm going to go let more people in the room. Okay, there we go. So both of you, everyone can download those. As you're still coming into the room, we got just a couple of minutes before we close this off, and we'll get started. But know that you do have access to unmute yourself. I'd like to have an interactive session, but please raise your hand and I'll call on you to ask a question. And we're going to be here, I think, about 30 minutes today. And so it is a live session, though. It's meant to give you an opportunity to ask questions. This is a open room as well, so please feel free to communicate with each other, but know that, okay, we don't communicate directly with you back and forth. We want to ask you questions of a personal nature, and if anybody else does, please know that that's you need to protect your privacy. Okay, just kind of below the game rules kind of out there for everybody. If you get knocked off, just come back. I'll try to get you in the room as quickly as possible. And it looks like we want to have a smaller group than normal, but I'm glad you're able to join us here today. So slowing down a little bit, I'll go ahead and get started, and then I'll start letting people in groups. But here we are at Gov School. First, just a background. GovDirections has been around since 1998. We serve just over 122,000 members now who proactively register, use our services in some way. And our primary responsibility is to aggregate the local, state, and federal government RFP sector, and so that you have access quickly to bids and proposals that have been issued by governments. We learn quickly, though, that governments themselves, individuals who work in government, need assistance, need more understanding. So we created Gov School, a way to help you learn to actually respond to government contracts and proposals in an educational method, and given a platform for education. And so we have hundreds of hours of videos on YouTube for you to go and watch, as well as in our standard Gov School service in our website, govschool.com. And this is one of those sessions. Gov Advice is a micro consulting platform. So we not only try to teach you to do things yourself, but then we also come in and provide technical assistance if you should need that, all with the ultimate goal of teaching you to do things and helping you learn how to work with government. We want you to graduate out of those programs. They're not there to really maintain a long-term relationship with you, but in terms of requiring you to be in there for years and years before you win a contract. We want you out and winning within a couple of months, 3 or 4 months. And you should be doing that if you're in business today. Okay, it's not that complicated. Myself, I come with a background. I'm a founder of GovDirections. I'm also the founder of governmentbids.com, which I sold in 2003. We also created these other platforms to help you in this sector. My primary interest has always been in translating public spend data into usable business products, and that's what my goal is with our company. I'm also a professor at the University of Georgia in the graduate program, and I teach a course of business contract. I'll be teaching this coming winter, in fact, to graduate students who go on to actually work in government, and they're the ones writing the RFPs that you're responding to. So this class I teach today is meant to reverse that knowledge, and so that I'm going to teach you what they're really kind of looking for. Okay, and also just as a background, I've selectively worked with about 370, maybe closer to 400 governments in 35 states now, where I work on organizational management projects, primarily compensation studies in local governments. So I've got some experience actually bidding and winning too. And so what I share with you is some based on 30 plus years. I think you're supposed to stop counting after 25, but 30 plus years of working directly with or around government. And that's what I'm offering you to today, is that experience level. Primary purpose today is to actually go into this is not a recorded session for others. I've been asked to record. Okay, and just so you know, it is recorded on YouTube Live, and you can get it there afterwards. I'm hearing some issues. If you got an issue with unable to hear, please make sure you turn up your volume. It should be okay. I think everybody here, if somebody can give me a thumbs up that you're able to hear me, then we're good. Okay, and as we continue to move forward, making sure I've got everything going right. Good, everybody. Some of those who've got their videos on, thumbs up. You can hear me? Good. Okay. So those are personal issues. Feel free to try to address and help each other, but know that this is a Zoom call, and you'll be able to hear it later on YouTube Live if you need to. Okay. We're going to walk through an actual RFP today. I'm going to give you some background on what to watch out for. We're going to allow you to ask questions. I'm going to share with you the importance of each sections, and I'm going to use the concept of experiential learning to teach you. Okay, that means that we're going to dive into a real live one, and then I'm going to show you some drafting responses and how I actually go about doing that. Okay, with that, just know that whenever you enter into the sector, it's supposed to be hard. Otherwise, everybody will be out there doing it. You come here at 5 o'clock, you're obviously ready to step into it and learn more, and you're doing the steps to really become better and win, and that's the goal. Okay, and so even today I learned something new about a contracting process for a federal contract. So every single day you learn, and it's changing, and so just know that that's going to always be the case. And so you have to step back and understand that when you're working in government contracting. I use words interchangeably today. Okay, a request for information, request for qualification, source of salt, invitation to quote, invitation to bid, request for bid. I'm just going to call them RFPs. Okay, just to make it simple for you, but know that there are a myriad of contracting instruments that governments use to engage with you, and they're all built just a little bit different, but they have some common themes to them. Okay, one of which is they're actively seeking your participation. Okay, governments don't have to reach out to you. They can go in and actually do sole source contracting or justifications to actually acquire services. They have those rules, okay, in place. They can use them. Whenever you see these instruments out there and you see something that catches your attention, they want you to respond. It's a competitive marketplace, and I like to point that out because you're not wasting your time. If this is a done deal, they've already made it happen. But if they're asking you for a response, then they really want a competitive marketplace. And so, the true definition of an RFP is a solicitation. They're actively asking you to respond. And it's made through a competitive process, a bidding process, where they're comparing you against other companies that have a similar skill set. So you got to shine. Okay, you got to sell yourself. Okay, it's always by a government agency or organization, a prime contractor trying to get you engaged. Okay, because they're doing something that's valuable. Okay, they want to create something that's valuable, have you respond to a service or supply that they need. They go through an elaborate decision-making process to get to this point. It's not a waste. I mean, literally in government, it's hundreds of hours put into to a point where they actually get to a stage where they issue a request for proposal or an invitation to bid. They've gone before the city council. They've gone before the county commissioners. They met in budget hearings. They've talked to the community. So these are always very important processes that have taken place. And so they want you to take it seriously whenever you respond to them and give them a professional proposal. Okay. So remember that when you're responding, that this is an active business engagement. Okay. There's reasons if you go out and really kind of study the theory of the firm and others types of methods to why we engage with each other. It's important that you understand that you are a subject matter expert. You've got something that you're trying to acquire, and so they're trying to get your attention. So I have a question. I'll start with a question. Robin, you got a question? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Hi, everybody. Okay, so for instance, I receive the RFP deliveries in my inbox every day. They're fantastic. So these are all requests for proposals. So even though they haven't come after my business, I still can bid on them. And RFP can be a two-way street, right? We can go after them or they can come after us. Is that accurate?
That's correct. Yeah,
got it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it's coming to you. It's time you can respond. In fact, sometimes I'll ask for, they even give within an RFP ways to contact them when you have an alternative proposal.
Okay.
You have something that's alternative to what they do. And so that you know that that's the case. Now, what you almost always are in, though, is a cone of silence. When you read that document, it's a period of time where you're not really, you don't want to go, you want to do exactly what they ask. Respond just back to the procurement officer. Don't call the mayor. Don't call the city council person. That's going to make you ineligible. Okay. So stay with the rules. Okay. In each of those, you're going to see you have typical parts of an RFP. Okay. You're going to have the statement of work. You're going to have the technical specs, the schedule, the list of deliverables. These are the items that they're asking for you to respond to. They're going to give you the contract terms and conditions, knowing that this is really your profit center. This is how they deal with issues that if something goes wrong. Okay. Concept of forbearance and how to forgive and how to make things right. Okay, they're going to tell you how that's all going to work. So you got to live with it. Governments don't usually move from contract terms at all. So you got to, when you're going into it, understand that, because that does impact your profit. Okay, your format of the proposal, this is how they're going to treat everybody equally. So they want you all to respond the same way. So all of us have our own way methods. We know we're creative and we've done things ourselves and we're professional. We got documents we want to send to people. Well, in government, you got to respond the way they want you to respond. Okay, so if they give you an line item of questions, you got to answer them in that order. Okay, that's how they're able to go back and check and get your response back. And it doesn't mean you have to copy and paste the exact same language, but use the flavor of the language, the process of the language in order to give them the answers that they're seeking. Okay, don't make them look for the answers. Okay? Very important. Qualifications and experience. You should be able to sell yourself. A lot of times I hear, I probably got 1,000 questions here ready to go. Yes, maybe not that many, but I don't have any experience. I don't have any clients. Well, my goodness, come on. You created your own company. Surely you got some experience. Okay. So use that concept of going into sell yourself the right way. A lot of times I give you, the three ones you're doing your reference. First, those you have contracted with, and in that order, public companies first, private companies second. You don't have those, then you go to those you have worked for. Okay. Use that. All right. So maybe as a subcontractor, or as maybe even an employee of the company. Okay. And then third, you don't have that, those who can speak to your good character. Okay. Have them in that order. And if you get down to 4 and your mom's around the corner, ask your mother to do it. Okay. Because somebody's got to give you a reference. Okay. And you got to have that. Okay. So I got another question from Muli. Go ahead, Muli.
Hi, Mark. This is Moli Somayajula. I have a question about the qualification and experience. So not so much about the qualification, but experience. So I get a lot of proposals, and then like in the last several months, we've been able to submit a lot of proposals. However, the experience that each RFP looks for is the company experience, past performance, right? Mm-hmm. But mine is like a startup company. So I just started last year. And not only they ask for the experience, they also ask for the references. So
Mhm.
how do I so what's your suggestion in that kind of scenarios?
Sure. My
Because
answer
I
to that
cannot.
question is governments know this. Okay. They know that everybody who responds is going to have different levels of experience. And most oftentimes, experience is going to be a factor, one of many that they use in order to have an evaluation criteria, which I'll get to in just a second. So you may
Yeah.
not get the 10 points that you need on qualifications experience if you're brand new in your company. Okay. So then
Right.
if cost is 20% of that, then you will have to have a more competitive cost than somebody like me who's got 30 years experience. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you just kind of know that going into it, and then you start evaluating how that's going to play when you actually compare they're going to go in there and do that evaluation criteria. At the same time,
Okay.
you got to learn in this business until you get that first bid behind you. Okay, is tie together your company with what they're seeking. When I first started, the very first contract I won was in Vermont. I'm from Georgia. Okay.
Mhm.
And it was a small government. I tried to get a couple of different ones. It was difficult, and it took about 7 months for me to actually land my first one. So you got to have a little staying
Yeah.
power, but I'm a very specialized business. Okay. And whenever I walked in the door there, I was able to tie to the fact that this type of organization in Georgia I used to work for. Okay. And so that begins a conversation. I may not have experience in the business yet, but I've got experience
Right.
working for organizations just like yours. Okay. So
Right.
you find
Yeah.
that correlation and you use that best. Okay. I'm
Okay.
going to continue to call on individuals as we go along. And if you have a question, you can ask in the chat box, but I'm trying to stay on schedule too. Okay. You've asked me to do that here by coming online. Cost breakdown. This is something you're going to want to watch for. You're going to get your pricing structure set up the right way. Okay. And making sure. And I was just on the phone with someone before we started talking about pricing and said, "Oh, I'm going in, I'm way overbidding or I'm underbidding. I'm not really getting in the sweet spot." And so, sometimes you overanalyze that, and you need to sit down and say a true cost. This is what it costs my business to do this, provide this service to that government. Okay. Get that number down first. Break down every part of your business structure that you're going to need in order to cost out. And then second, step back and then do an evaluation across others. Okay. Doing a comparative analysis and do it with the different indicators. Sometimes it's a square foot. Sometimes it's as I said on this person, number of shingles that you are going to have to acquire for different types of project. Whatever that indicator is, in mine, it's per number of employees. And also looking at budget. I'm looking at probably 10 or 11 different comparative factors, and then step back and use that costing analysis to see where truly the market's at. Then go back in and do some percentiles, like 25th percentile of the group. Not that you're 24% lower than everybody, but in that group, who was the sort of the lower end bidding? And if you're brand new, you need to be in that part of the equation. If you've got some experience, you can then move up. I'm never bidding on any project at my career level on anything less than 75th percentile. And I'm going to be above over half the others because I can get all the points for qualification experience. I can shave off a couple points on the pricing part of it. Okay. So you kind of come to learn that. And I do a class just on pricing as well. Evaluation criteria, understand where the evaluation criteria is at. Okay. And I'll show you a couple of those. I always use this slide. And I always say statement of work. It needs to be singing this song to you. When you look at a bid in RFP, if it doesn't sing that Coldplay song in the back of your head, you need to walk away from it. It's not your business. Okay. Move on. $7 trillion marketplace this coming year. There's going to be opportunity for you to bid. Okay. So you got to find the right one. Someone was telling me the other day, they watched YouTube videos and they said, "Oh, you got to be bidding on 30 contracts a month in order to have a chance." I just think that's just completely the wrong avenue to take, because it's better to find the perfect bid that you can win and focusing on that than any day just out there just throwing out responses and hoping you can get something. And it's just I don't think that's the wise way to win bids. And we have a try and true stage way to do things, and it works for our clients. And it's focusing in on those that have clear indicators of success. They're exactly what you want. They're in your wheelhouse, and you can actually go and pursue those. When you get an RFP, know you're going to have to these first few steps. Read the entire proposal. But I'm going to tell you right away, if the scope of work doesn't speak to you, go ahead and move on to the next one. Okay, we're presenting them to you in just a quick way at RFP delivery. and you should be moving through until you get one that catches your attention. And then you go through and you read it, all the areas that I'm gonna talk about and show you today, okay? Pay attention to those areas, looking at the technical specs. This is what they're asking for you to do. Looking at the schedule, can you meet it? Don't expect governments to make changes for you, okay? You gotta meet what they're asking for. The list of deliverables, get those items down, have responses to them. You'll build them up over time. You can get back and get a response pretty quickly back to them. Always think about it, set aside, talk to your colleagues. Even if it's one that comes in the day and I got to have it by Friday, you need to be ready to do that. Work really does expand. Here's my next slide to fill the time available for its completion, but you got to be able to move quickly and have the information ready to go in order to respond, okay? And make sure you're a good fit. Get your group together. Sometimes you're brand new. You don't have a huge team, but you're bringing in 1099s or other subcontractors working with you to build a team in order to respond to a bid. That's perfectly fine. Governments don't mind that. Okay, they expect that for business. So you pull that together, complete the proposal, and get it back to them. Okay, and so know that the process works. I have a system where we basically go in, organize a Google Drive because it's free. And I'm going to show you that today. And you can take it, you can learn it yourself how to do it, but it's a way to really keep the information flowing so that you can have it and use it in an organized process. And just know, if you don't have organization, you got chaos. Okay. So Cav, you got a question as I open up the next folder here? What question?
Yes, sir. A couple of questions, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to your previous discussion points, I've done lots of work with a previous business, completely different market that's from the one that we're currently in and competing on government contracts. How do you sort of tie those two in together in terms of documenting the past experience where you've had that validated sales to clients, but it's completely different than what you're going after in a current business model?
I think that's fine to do. What the government is trying to understand when they ask you for your experience and past performance is, first of all, they want to make sure you're qualified to do the job. Okay, that's by hands down, that you got the qualifications. So make sure you highlight that. They don't really care how you got that or where you got that at, as long as you got it. Okay, and that's important. I think the experience, they just want to know that you kind of that you people contract with you. That's what I think they're mainly looking for. But it's like you and I, if we're going to hire somebody to work with us, we want ideal situations. But you're sitting here in a room right now with all these individuals, all of you are telling me the same thing, that you don't have any experience. So everybody's like that. They get that. Everybody who responds to these RFPs, it's going to be similar situations. So you sell them in different ways. What I usually sometimes do is, in my cover letter, I'll speak to it and say that I don't ever use a negative. I don't start off with, I don't have any experience, but this. Okay, start off with 20 years of solid experience in this particular sector. I have transferred this knowledge to this new sector, and I'm moving forward to grow my company. Okay, so you want to use it in a proactive way, and then you bypass that negative that you don't really have the experience that they requested. The other thing is, like, we had a client yesterday. I was working with someone that they may be on here, but they were bidding, and they basically said they wanted 5 years experience in this sector. The guy emailed the person, say, "Hey, I don't have 5 years. I got 3 months. Can I still bid?" And they're like, "Sure, we need a bidder." Okay, so just because the document says that doesn't mean they're going to rule you out. It's just part of the equation. Okay, so learn to sell yourself in the right way. There's a quote I use by Alexander Haig. The General Haig basically talks about defining your capabilities. You're the one that needs to define them, because if you depend on somebody else to define them, they're not going to do you any favors. Okay, so you got to define it, and then you got to excel every time you beyond what you've told the government you will do, and then you'll continue to build that reputation. I have a client, Mr. Lima. He's in Texas. He started out and he did containers, worked with like the roll-off containers that you see, what you might have for when you redo your house. Then he decided to get into the demolition business. And this is huge business right now because of the Infrastructure Act. And so he basically framed it in such a way that his past experience is the 5-star reviews he gets on Google from the clients he's working with in containers. And it's sold, and it worked. And he's got 3 new clients, and he can now just have governments serving as references. Okay, and that's all been done within a few minutes. I mean, within a few months. Okay.
Yeah.
So with that said, go ahead. You ask your next question. How about that?
Yeah, that's a great segue to the conversation around Fiverr and freelance work that we've done.
Mhm.
Obviously, it's on a different platform, but we've done over 150 reviews, 5-star profile. Would you consider that type of work as adequate experience also to document and show?
I would. Every work that you've done is good work to show. Okay. As you gain more experience, you try to tie it to the bid you're actually seeking. Okay. So if I'm working now, if I go into a project, we're going to work in South Dakota. I'm talking about South Dakota governments that I've worked with. Okay. So I tie it specific to that region. When I first started, I was stepping back and saying, this is the type of organization I work for. Okay. So you kind of move it as you gain more, you move it closer to the actual contract requirements. Okay. Until you get to that point, you give them whatever you got. Okay. And governments respect that. Sometimes that even can help you, to be honest with you, because they want to encourage small business, medium-sized business. And you don't need to go, as I was talking to a client today as well, looking at DOT work, they were going after a $3 million contract. And I'm like, do you really want to start there? You need to maybe start at a $300,000 level, go for that first, and then, step up to the next stage. Because if you go for a $3 million, they're going to be a lot more critical of your response documents. And they're saying you don't have any experience than they would at a $300,000 level. Okay. Because that's where they kind of expect new businesses to start out with, start working with them, and then they move you up through the process. You will find governments think really kind of the same way too. Okay. It's going to be sort of the size of it.
Yeah.
I know I've got
one more question.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. One more question, then we'll move on. Okay, go ahead.
ChatGPT. Has anyone explored the idea of creating a prompt that would allow you to upload an RFP and extract certain bits of information from it that's pertinent to the reader, utilizing ChatGPT to help excel that process of reviewing RFPs?
In fact, I'm going to show you. Maybe I staged that question with you earlier. I don't think so, but I'm going to show you some tools to allow you to do that. Okay, that's a process, and I would always share with you. I use technology to a full extent I can. Always, anytime you can use technology to make things more efficient. But reading through an RFP, sometimes it does require, it's not all logic. It's also emotional factors, social issues, other types of things you have to take into consideration in decision making. And also Professor Coase, who came up with the theory for him, he is famous for one quip that he had. He talks about the engagement of humans in the process of decision making, how we always are not so logical. Sometimes we're even stupid, and that's because we consider things that have no relevance that should have no relevance to a decision. Okay, and so when you're using technology in decision making in government or in process development, know that it doesn't always catch that part of it. Okay, so we understand that. But yes, in fact, if you type in Cat RFP, I think you actually come to our site, because we are exploring this whole avenue of observation. Nope, actually you don't. So I think it's coming. So we'll see. Okay, so look at that. Oh my goodness, I don't know what's happening. Okay, and so know that people are thinking about it. But you can go to Chat PDF, drop your RFP in here, and then it can give you some quick tips to help you improve it. Okay, so let's go actually find an RFP and understand that process. So really, when you're going through RFP delivery, and you do that, you actually want to step in, see here, and look for a bid. I'm just going to do things I know about. Okay, compensation study as an example. And we have here, read more. Listen. I'm gonna look at, see if I can find what couple. Here's one. Let's just look and see what this is. Here's one in Vermont. So I was talking about Vermont earlier. Step in, go in. This is for a regional planning commission in Vermont. Always, if I'm interested in it, save it in my folder in our system, and that way you will have it captured. Okay, you don't lose it. Going in, actually seeing the actual RFP. Okay. And if I was to actually drop this in to Chat PDF, it's a free system. I think I can actually type in the URL. It'll go about the process of analyzing it for me, giving me some information that, and questions and prompting questions that will help me in my response back to them. Okay, so tools that are there, what's the purpose, might ask question evaluation criteria. And always, as you know, in these AI, it's more conversational. And
Mark,
yeah.
can you share your screen, please?
You should be, so let's just reshare it, okay? And sometimes it loses that, okay? Just 1 second, okay? I'm gonna reshare. There we go. Back, okay. So you ask the questions and then we'll give you that kind of information, okay? And well, it's helpful to me. It's always better for me, since I've been doing this for a while, is actually go into the RFP myself and look for, the information, okay? And when I go through and I dissect it, the things I really start watching out for first, I always look and see if there's a name here that I have to be aware of and contact, okay? But I'm looking at the background, that gives me some details. I'm starting to pick out indicators of success for me, okay? In my situation, I'm doing things like size of government, number of employees, I'm doing job titles, I'm doing the budget for the cycle itself. I also am looking at the commission that I'm answering to, or the city council. I don't like to work with 4-3 decision-making bodies. They're not fun. So these are kind of things you learn over time. You don't want to go into a bad relationship. It's a situation where it's always contested, and that can create problems and costs for you. Okay, so you kind of watch for some of these things. But in here, I'm also looking at where it's at. I like to work in Vermont. I like to work in Dakotas. I like to work in night places that are close to a fishing stream. This is my business, so I can do what I want to. So you do the same thing. You learn what things you're looking for, and you start picking up on that in the background section. The scope of work. This is really where it needs to sing to me. This is the bit I wanted to find. This is what I do. Okay. In this particular case here, they're examining total compensation. I don't do that. Okay. So I'd step out and say, this bit is not for me. Okay. Let's go with a question as I'm looking through here. Stanchani. You have a question? Stashani? Is it Stephanie?
Hello. Yes, Mark. I do have a
Hey,
question.
Stephanie. Yeah, go
Hi.
ahead.
How are you doing today?
Good. How are you today?
I'm doing great. So my question back to the staff, right? So if you have staff or contractors rather that works with you that are international. So I'm originally from Jamaica, and I do have people that work with me and they're still living in Jamaica. So they're international, right? Can I still account for them as a staff member when I'm putting my bid together?
That's a very good question. And the answer to your question is going to lie in the individual RFP itself. Some governments will allow you to bring in international individuals. Sometimes they will not. They'll say it's only US based. It's very rare they do that, in fact. Sometimes it's state law requirements, but they'll spell that out. Most times they don't care who you bring in, as long as they're actually part of the team to build the response that they need. Okay. Now there's some exceptions to that, especially when you're looking at product now with the Buy American Act. And so there's other parts of that you have to be aware of at the federal level, even in the state and local level when it's funded by the federal government. Okay, but most governments are just looking for a solution, and you're providing them a solution to that. I frequently, though, reach out and bring in individuals who have subject matter expertise in a particular topic. For example, in this one here, they have these specific tasks. And so they're looking for someone to do this work, these 4 things, okay? Right. And so, like, for example, number 3, I might not have that skill set. And so there, I may want to bring in some other part of a team in order to get that question answered. And I got to provide a solution for them. So they're receptive to that, Okay, so you're looking through here, finding out what the specs are or the task, okay,
Right.
and then looking to see what they want to be delivered in order to build your proposal.
Okay.
As I'm reading through here, I'm gonna follow on the schedule, make sure I can meet the schedule. Sometimes if they want something done quick, looks like this one here, they want started quickly. So I might have to push my pricing up. Because I'm also I know that most companies aren't going to be able to respond and get in the door in there that quick. Okay. It lets me know which ones I want to go for. So you're going to come to understand some of those requirements. Okay. They're also going to give you precise requirements. In this particular case here, it's going to be a situation where they're asking for even to the number of pages, okay, and the size of the page. So you don't want to miss some requirements like that and then miss the actual RFP because you failed to sign in blue ink, or you failed to submit it an electronic copy on a floppy drive, or a flash drive, whatever we call them these days. Okay, these are all part like a cover letter. This will not be considered as part of the 10-page limit. That gives me an extra page. At first, I thought it was going to say will not be considered. So I usually always have a cover letter. Okay. In this case here, they're even suggesting you need to have a cover letter because they told you not to consider it in the 10-page. So remember that. So if you don't send them a cover letter, kind of puts you at a disadvantage. Okay. You also have to have a cost proposal. Okay. Sometimes that's not required. And they also want you to indicate it on the outside of the proposal, certain pieces of information. So you always pay attention to those details. Okay. And for goodness sake, watch the due date. I had a client yesterday had a bid due today. We waited until last night, and then about midnight we get an extension. Okay. So we didn't want to submit our bid and let it sit out there now for a whole week while there's an extension, because there could be changes to it. And it's just too much room for misplay. So you wait till really the day of and you submit. Okay. And then you're also, you may have to go back and do some addendums. So pay attention to the dates and use all the time available for the completion. Okay. Don't rush on it. Okay. If you only got 2 days, 3 days, be ready to go. If you've got 3 months, take the full 3 months. Okay. It's required. And always, here, they'll discard you. So way to kind of rule out the folks who can't follow instructions. And if I have questions, I'm going to ask Forrest. Okay. And that's the only person I'm going to correspond with. They're going to tell you that. Okay. Mahdi, question?
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
How you doing?
Doing good, sir. Regarding what you said earlier about, and what you just said now about bringing a member to your team, I have a couple of questions about that. First, how would you structure it? Assuming I'm using the member, how would you structure that on the proposal, right? Do you need to tell do you need to put that in the proposal that you're using a sub to do it, and would you need to include your subs, and can you include your subs past performance in your proposal? That's the first question. Second question, would you need a kind of agreement with the sub, a written agreement to do that, or like a teaming agreement or a partnership agreement? Do you have to do that?
Okay, so you got a couple of questions there all together. One of them, I'm just going to answer the way I kind of understand what you're asking me. But the first is your team itself. Sometimes you're going to have, employees that are physically employed by your organization. Sometimes they're considered 1099. They're coming in at your request, working project-oriented consultants. Okay, I'm frequently listed on multiple bids that I'm not. Sometimes I don't even know I'm on the actual RFP as a response, because I've signed on and said, yes, sure, I'll help you if you ever get this RFP. They use me as a consultant. Okay, they list that. Okay, and so there they have an agreement with me, and I have that. And if they win the business, and I'm paid in a specific way, like a 1099. Whereas an employee is just part of the company, and I've got that organized. I got an organization chart, kind of shows them. Here's my CFO. Here's my CEO. Kind of like those kind of details. Okay, and then you have this pure subcontracting relationship where I've got a project. It's building a new house, and we're going to have some roofing subcontractors, and we're going to have some electrician subcontractors. They're going to come in and do a specific project, and they're in, they're out. Okay, there you're going to have an agreement with them, and you're going to explain to the government how you're going to use them, who they are, and you're going to give them the same sort of credentials that they're asked for in the overall proposal, including using their past performance as part of overall past performance, and leaning on that sometimes whenever you're I always frequently get questions about being the middleman in the process. If you're doing that kind of philosophy, you're almost always leaning on the subcontractor and their responsibility. Ultimately, you're responsible for the contract, but you do have those subcontract relationships. So you want to make sure you're protected as well. Okay. So you can include those in. Now you're going to draft that into your proposal in the appropriate location, usually in the solution, or in this case here, for example, the statement of qualifications. Okay. So I'm going to talk about if I have folks that are 1099 or affiliate consultants, I'm going to list them, and I'm going to tell that role for each of them. I'm going to give their resume, usually in a short version. I'm not going to highlight that company that they're with or anything. I'm going to highlight their skill sets and their knowledge, what I need, why am I using them, why am I bringing them to the table, and then I'm going to list them in that capacity, and I'm going to have that ready to go for all of my consultants under my qualifications and experience section of my organized area. Okay. Hopefully that answers your question. I'll move along here. Methodology. Governments really want to know how you do your work. Okay, you got to explain it best. They're going to ask you questions usually, and then you're going to respond to the typical answers or tasks or products within it, milestones, timetables like they've used here. Okay, but your methods and deliverables and how you actually propose to respond to that. So you need to build that over time. Usually, when you answer one question, it's the same question over and over again. You have that ready to go. So you're going to say that. Okay. And then we're looking at a cost proposal, and then insurance. Always get a question on insurance. Most always you'll find it'll say this: if selected, if you get the contract, then you have to do this. Okay. Just know you have to be insurable, but you want to include that cost in your proposal process. Okay. So that you don't have to eat that later. Okay. Whenever you're looking at continue, and they're also going to always tell you how they're going to select you. This is the evaluation criteria. Okay. In this case here, approach, experience, cost, other values. So if I don't have a lot of experience, then I'm going to have to cut this cost a little bit. If I do have a lot of experience, then maybe I can increase it. If my approach is solid and it's unique, I've got the best product in the world, some of these others won't matter as much. Okay. So it's not always just cost. It's not always just experience. These are calculations that the government's doing. You're trying to get the A, of course, but it's okay sometimes to get the B, and you still win the contract. Okay. And so understand that going into it. Okay. And they also oftentimes would tell you who's going to be making the decision. If that's the case, go find out who they are. Learn about them. You can go to these organizations. You can understand who the teams are, how they make decisions, what they talk about. All their minutes of public meetings are available. Everything they say in public is recorded. There's usually a lot of videos out there. You can learn who your audience is, and that's important. And you get in there to try to pitch them or actually respond back to them. I typically, when I'm responding, I'm looking for a finance director on the list, because that's what I usually speak, finance. Okay, and in my individual business. And so that's important. That's one of my indicators, in fact. And so there's actually a couple parts of this proposal that I'm seeing that I wouldn't respond to this one. Okay. And then always know the information that you send them is going to be publicly available somewhere. So here's a short one. Sometimes it can be a lot rather lengthy, but what I really want to focus in on this one is really this deliverables here, the specific request. And in my proposal that I write back to them, I'm going to build my response back to them. I mentioned that what I usually do is set up folders. And so in your Google folder, you can use it, Microsoft OneDrive, whatever. I usually organize in a specific way. Okay. And so I can keep my files. And I use this method because once again, it's free, but there's tools out there I really love. There's one of them called Monday.com. It's an excellent tool to help you. Okay. And organize and keep the flow in the right way. Okay. But I keep my logo right at hand. Always have that in a transparent way. Okay. So you have that. If you don't have one, get a logo. It's important in your cover sheet. Make sure your branding is in place. Okay. Anytime you send any kind of bid, I'm going to usually attach a cover sheet. Even when it's in an email, I attach the cover sheet. Okay. It just sends a signal that this is a business proposal, not a friendly chat by email. Okay. It's a proposal. It's important you understand your capability statement. If you don't have one, you can look on the front page of RFP delivery, and we got a special rate there. We'll be glad to work with you on that to help you. But here, you can do them yourself. In Gov School, I got a session. It's on our YouTube channel. It's just specifically how to do this. Going in, and Dr. Cynthia Harper does this for us. She tells you about how to make sure you talk about your mission statement, all your qualifications, your sample work, where it's at, okay? Why they should hire you. Okay? These are some basics. How to get in contact with you. Okay, your DUNS number, your UEI number. I don't really work with the federal government, so I haven't updated that just yet, but this is a sample. And you can it's out there, do your own. It should be branded the same way as your normal branding is. Your website tied into it. Make it interactive. Interactive is good these days, okay? If you use a word, maybe show an example of your product, example of your work, link to it on the internet. Always use SSL or secure links when you do this, okay? It's very important. RFP process here, I go in, I keep my RFPs of interest, and I keep my RFP components, okay? These are the components we just talked about, okay? I organize them in the right way. I have sample executive summaries. Once I write one, I don't need to rewrite it every single time. Doesn't make sense. It's a waste of time, okay? Keep it organized. Go back and you can lift it. And if you're writing about one topic, for example, I do compensation management. I have a different one for cost. I do cost allocation studies, and also do another one just for classification analysis, okay? So I have 3 different summaries, and then I might pull from that, okay? My qualifications, I build that over time. If I'm responding to a qualification, if I run a government in South Dakota, I'm using some different qualifications there, okay? That I highlight, okay? I might use different things. As I have an economic development certificate. Sometimes when I'm dealing with economic development projects or regarding cost allocation, I pull that out. So I know where my qualifications are at. Okay, have that listed, your resumes too, okay? Your methods and deliverables. Every time you answer a question about an item that you're going to have to respond to, keep it, okay? You're going to see the same things over and over again. This is how you do your work. And you don't have to rethink it every single time you do your work, okay? Certifications, store them one place where you know where they're at. If you don't have them, gain them, okay? They're always helpful. Don't wait on them. Go ahead and start bidding. Certifications are good, always helpful, but you don't have to wait on them, okay? All of us are basically total small business. Right away, you got one, okay? And then the others you can gain if you have them. There's something to help you, especially if you're going after subcontract, especially if you're going after set-asides at the federal level, okay? But don't wait on them. There's still plenty of opportunity out there. Local governments traditionally do not use set-asides. They use what's referred to as preference systems, and that's based on the Richmond decision, okay? And that's the reason why that. So everybody gets to bid. They may share preference, but you know, the truth of the matter is they have a hard time getting anybody to bid, even those with, because a lot of you, I think, are out there worrying about you don't have enough experience, but they're waiting for people to bid. So when you bid, they get you in there, and then they will use that if necessary, if all other things being equal. At the federal level, they set aside projects just for those that are small and get to help you get going. And they understand that. So they keep others from being able to bid on those. Veteran-owned, woman-owned, they have those there for you to bid on, okay? Forms, these are documents that you might need, the W-9 form, things like that, okay? That you have your E-Verify. We have, you know, your anti-lobbying certificate. There's a lot of times now that you don't boycott Israel, that you don't invest in Iran. These are based on state laws. Every state's a little bit different. You keep them there. And then your performance. Always know where to go to give an example of your work. Have it there ready to go. Okay. And so Gigi, you have your hand up. I'll go next. Still got a question?
Oh, yes, I do. I do. So I have, it's actually 2 questions. One has to do with approaching vendors and some of the language around approaching a vendor to provide products and to be able to secure a net 30 from the vendors. Sometimes if they don't have a relationship with you, they don't know you, they don't really want to off the cuff, you know, offer you a net 30. So I'm interested in what kind of language I can use around that. And the second question is language around if you choose to take like more of an eclectic approach where you're doing anything from bow and arrows to cameras to office chairs, like you're just doing a whole bunch of things. How would you classify what you do or how you tend to sell to the government? So those are my 2 questions.
Okay, so the very first question, I learned early on to kind of understand what you know and you don't know. I really can't advise you on that. Really, to be honest, to approach the private sector is a little bit different skill set, I think. So you're going to have to probably seek that knowledge from someone else, okay? I never had to do that. I don't really have I know what you're trying to do there, but I don't really have,
I'm talking about
haven't done that kind of
securing-
experience. Like,
Well,
if you're
it's
trying
still-
to resell.
Well, if you're bidding on a government contract and it's for a
Mhm.
product, not
You're
a
trying to
service.
you're going to buy the product from someone else and then resell it to the government. And
Yeah,
then you want a net 30. Yeah, I don't really understand that vendor relationship with you as a sub or as a reseller. I don't really have that expertise. Okay. So my advice probably not valuable. On the other side of that, you said about describing what you do to the government. There, the best way to do that is to really try to keep it in a 3 to 4 sentence description, kind of your elevator speech, and practice as if somebody asked you over a dinner party, what do you do? Okay. And the first thing that kind of rolls off your tongue, that's how you explain it to the government as well. Okay. I resell products and I source products on behalf of governments who don't have time to source it. I mean, you maybe want to clean up the language a little bit, but that's really kind of how you help them understand, because they know that's what they're looking for. They don't want to, they're basically saying, help me get this product. They don't really always care exactly how that happens. They want you to do that. And so sometimes if it's a small purchase, like somebody was purchasing someone this week, it's a one item product, a big vendor is not going to go in there and waste their time with that. Okay. You are willing to do that. It's a $20,000 sale for you. That's worth it. You can buy it at $15,000. You resell it $20,000. The government gets it still at a competitive rate because you went through all the trouble of kind of negotiating that for them. Okay. But getting the contractor who's going to provide that product at the very beginning to you, I don't have a skill set in that, so I can't really advise you that. Thank you for the question. Okay.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Robin, then I'll move on. Question? Yeah.
Okay, I'll be real quick. Again, going to RFP delivery, there is a date listed. I'm assuming that is the date that RFP is due, even though a lot of them are like within a week. Is that accurate? Right there.
That's correct.
Red. Okay, got
Okay.
it. My second question is, I know you guys do RFP services. Remind me the cost. If we were to hire you to help us write RFPs.
Yeah, sure. So we have.
And we could talk offline too, otherwise.
That's fine. I will get to that. There you go. Yeah. So it's not purely a sales pitch, but I'll talk. We do provide RFP writing services, and they're available. We usually do it in hour segments, so it's up to 4 hours, where most clients traditionally start at. It's an experiential process to teach you to get to that first win. Okay, it's $250 is what it's priced at. If you want more than that, up to 12 hours, it's $500. Up to 20 hours, it's $1,200. Okay, and that's sort of built around the needs of the organization that you're in. Usually, you're at that first stage where our clients are, and we're helping you get to that first win. Now, if you just need somebody technically helping you write and push, for example, my client there in the demolition, he's a working owner, and he's out and he doesn't want to deal with all the paperwork. That's really at a second tier level. Okay, and he's not really there's not enough contracts in the demolition field in his area to justify going to the third level. Okay. Now, if you have a client that sells milk, they would be potentially at that level at the third level. Okay. That's how that kind of works. Okay. So going back, and we do this, organize your RFPs of interest that you're working with in 4 phases. And I would also just point out, because you said that about the timing, be ready to go on contracts. Okay. Sometimes it's short time frame, sometimes there's longer. It's rarely more than 3 months. Excuse me, more than 30 days. And they're also by the sector. So if it says combined synopsis solicitation, that's a streamlined acquisition. They're ready to move quickly. Okay. A quote, also very quickly, 3 days maximum usually. Okay. So know that solicitation, usually a little bit more, maybe 30 days. State and local governments, a lot of times they'll start with a date and then they'll move the date. Okay. And so as it progresses, so it's not always the final date when you first see it. Sometimes it's extended, especially when it's announced and they didn't really give you enough time. They usually let the market know it's coming, and they talked about it. And just know that any of these projects here, before they got here, they were in a pre-solicitation stage. They were in a thinking about stage. They're going to do this, going through a budget. We're picking it up. It's called an upcoming or a pre-solicitation. Okay. Giving you early on access to that information, so you can start more traditional business development with that. Okay, you want to get in there as early as you can, but always have the ability to respond in a few days. And if you organize your documents and your data, you can do that. Okay. Active stage, bids are actually being active, submitted when it moves past the due date where you actually turn it in and you're waiting. And then the win stage here. And then of course your no bid stage. In this, I have started calling this with clients because I don't focus so much on failure. I don't even like that word. So here in government contracting, it's a learning stage. Okay. I learned from these. In order to have won 350 plus contracts, I've lost much more. Okay. And that's just a part of the process. And you got to learn why you lose. Sometimes it has nothing to do what you do with how you approach something. It's really it could be a heart pull, a tug. Somebody did something in a room and got the attention of the person in this part of the decision making, and they went that way. Their mother had the same color hair. Who knows? Something like that can happen. Has no logic, and you can lose. Okay, just know that going into it. Other times you can look at a bid, think you're going to bid on it, and then you decide I can't bid on this bid. My friend earlier, he doesn't want to bid on too complex things with asbestos. Okay, so you kind of learn that. So that word appears, the bid thing, even though we thought we were going to bid on it, and maybe in the second stage they got a Q&A and they say, oh yeah, there's asbestos. We move into a no bid stage. Okay, so that's there. So you learn from that. Okay, so keep yourself organized, have your documents in an orderly way, and then you'll find that. And when you get an RFP like that one I had, go ahead.
So can you open the RFP components once? Just want to see how you organize.
Okay. And I'll call on you, raise your hand with questions, and I'll try to do that. So yeah, I'll organize. There we can. It's just basically the flow of the documents that I showed you on the slide deck. The slides are in your system. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
And so here was that particular bid. I might start here. I might call these tasks. Literally start your bid process. Okay. Going back to many windows here. Going to my process. RFPs of interest. I'm going to start my active folder. Okay. I'm going to start me a new folder. I'm going to keep it organized. This is going to be my Vermont response, and it's going to be due November the 3rd. I forget exactly. Okay, but I'm just going to put my data in there, keep it organized so I don't lose that. Okay, open it up. I'm going to start my response. Okay, and I'm going to do the document, create and share. Be very simple. Keep it simple. Okay, drop in the requirements. Here they are. I'm going to put in there, I have my cover letter. Start it. I'm going to have my cover letter already drafted in a different folder. Okay, I'm also going to have the document cover, and then I'm going to have my response. Okay. And then I'm going to start answering these questions. Okay. I'm going to organize it in such a way that I build myself a table of contents. Always. I don't care. You want to do this professionally for every response that you send back. Okay. Enter it in. Google has great little tools. Insert it. Insert your table of contents. It'll organize it for you. Okay. You go in and my task. Okay. I'm going to do a compensation, classification, analysis. Okay. That's the first task. I'm going to go in, my proposal. I'm going to set it in my header. Okay. I'm going to come back. I'm going to keep eventually I'm going to keep all of my, I'm always get back frequently. And I'm going to change my font so it all stays the same. Okay. Now, Google just built me a table of contents. Going in, starts it. Okay. And then I'm going to start building it out. It's that simple, folks. Don't let it intimidate you. Okay. Answer your questions. Just continue to build it out. Okay. In their case here, you do exactly what they ask you to do. Nothing less, nothing more. Okay. Governments are it's not designed to be creative with. They're asking you questions. They want you to give them an answer. Okay. And so it's your responsibility to give them that answer. If they forget to do something, worry about that in the second stage. Okay. You can negotiate with them at that point. Okay. Or the questions and answers that follow, pay attention to them. Okay. So you just lay it out this way here. Okay. Keep it organized. So you can go to it and you start building it. Okay? And you'll find it's a very straight, easy way to pull through. Don't complicate the writing. I always tell folks when they come to this class here, you know, whenever if you need help with writing, look at Shrunk and White. I'll put there. Go to Google. You can go Shrunk and White. I think it is. They're elements of style. Okay. This is a writing tool. Shrunk, Dr. Shrunk. Kind of, I think it's free, or it's at Amazon. Okay. This is an excellent way, teaches you how to write technical writing. Okay. It's actually free on the internet, so you can get it for free. And then you can also go to the library and get it these days if you remember what libraries are. But you'll find that it's very helpful to you as you learn how to write. Okay. And you will want to use that kind of technical writing accuracy. You know, everything you do with the government needs to be accurate, brief, brevity, clarity. Okay. Be clear. Initially, it's the government's response to be clear to you and what they want. It's your response to respond to them the same way. Be clear. Okay. So that's what I've got for you today. I'm going to ask Tom Mitchell. Tom Mitchell, excuse me. I don't mean to.
Yeah. No, you have that right.
Okay.
Yeah,
thank you.
You have that right. Thank you.
No, I'll try to go extra to say your name correctly. Mine's just one syllable. It's easy.
No, I wanted to know really quickly, and this might be a super basic question. I'm, in consulting, and I'm going out for a bid, and when it says budget's $95,000, and let's say, for instance, you do win this actual contract, how do they disperse? Like, I guess I don't understand how they disperse like payment. Is that like they spread it out over a month? And this would be over the span of 12 months, by the way. So how does that work? So
what I would do with mine is I would have a cost proposal. And that particular project that I looked at, it's probably going to be in the $75,000 range. Kind of know the market. Okay. And there I would say at contract, you pay me $25,000.
Okay.
At midpoint, defined by your deliverables, you pay me $50,000 or $25,000 more. Okay. And then the final delivery, you pay me the final.
Okay.
You tell them in your cost proposal.
Okay. Even if they don't ask for a cost proposal or anything. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. If they don't
ask for if they don't ask for it, then you don't have that.
Don't worry about it. Okay, because they didn't ask for it. Yeah, okay. They didn't even ask. So I just didn't know
if they don't tell you, then they're going to tell you how they're going to do it then. So you don't have a Okay. All right. A lot of that's going to be, they're going to ask you for, especially if it's product, they'll say, what's your net? Okay. Is it net 30, net 15? And then will you give me a discount if I pay you early? I don't ever propose a discount for the government.
Right. Because they have it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, no, I want net 30 and I want my money. Okay. If you want the product, I'm not going to be that brash, but I'm just telling you, need to be,
right.
One of the things my mother always told me is never be afraid to ask for money when you're doing something. Okay. So always ask. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Maddie, you have another question. Let me just look at it. Since you've asked a question, all right, let me just look at the chat box just to make sure if there's any chat questions first. Okay, I want to be respectful to everybody here. Okay. Let's see if I can find the chat box.
I put one in the chat box too, but that was my question, so you can ignore that.
Okay. Just quickly, I'll run through here. Thank you all for asking questions. Thank you for coming today. I appreciate your interest in our services. Okay. Audio. Can you share a sample of the Google Drive? I cannot do that. Thank you. If that is proprietary, we can get you, if you call us, we can help you with that. Okay. But we don't provide that at no cost, just so you know that. I want to tell up front. Okay. But you're seeing what I'm doing here. It's not something great secret. Okay. But we've taken time to organize it. Sometimes they require you to submit through like the CMBL, the contractor, I think it's called the Contractor Master Bidders List in Texas, CMBL. We don't submit bids here at RFP Delivery. We're aggregator of information. There are probably 40 mechanisms, 50 different mechanisms in the United States that use software as a service to help you potentially bid. They have different models. They all work with individual governments sometimes. We cover all of them regardless, and then the government decides how they want you to bid on something. Okay, we want you working directly with the government at that point. We want to help you, inform you, educate you, but we want to step out of the way and when there's actually the bid part. Okay, Chat RFP. No, that wasn't, it was Chat PDF. I was just playing around with the other earlier. Chat PDF is a free tool for most of us. And if you want a higher level, then you can come in and it can actually help you write a response. For those of you who have writing challenges, you can potentially use that. But just know, I'm a professor. I get a lot of students who kind of try to pull them over on you. You can tell when it's written. The government wants to meet you. They want to do business with you. They expect it to be in the way you speak, in the way you communicate, and that's important in the process of a selection. Okay, so don't be intimidated by that process. Okay, and governments really are there to help you. I know a lot of times we think they're not. They really are. Okay, they'll work with you. If you forget something, they often just tell you. If you need additional time, sometimes the federal government will extend the time. Just tell them the day before, say, hey, we're running up against deadlines and we want to get a bid in and we need another 3 or 4 days. They will often push it out. Okay. Can you go over a snow removal federal contract in its class? Yes, I'll make a point of doing that. Okay, that's so much questions. So Maddie, you have another question? Okay. Anybody, the next person has a question.
You already answered my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, that's not free on that part. Yeah, sorry. To Mitchell, you have another question?
Yes.
Okay.
One quick question. So the bid that I am going out for, again, is not in my city, so I'm going to have to mail that out. And I know earlier you said, make sure you check for dates just to see if they give you an extension. But I don't want to chance it. So would you just suggest, getting it out before, the deadline, or what if it's in the mail and they extended it? You know what I mean? How do you handle that?
Yeah, if you want to be in the mail, you need to give yourself 2 days, send it in.
Okay. That's what I was thinking too. Okay.
Yeah, minimum. I had one other day, I guaranteed delivery by 2. It didn't get there. I guaranteed to deliver by 9, but it had to be on there by 2. It still didn't get there. If there's delays all around with delivery of mail. So just give yourself, but most of them nowadays can be electronically sent. If it's electronically, like the one I was talking about this morning, then it's okay to wait on that. Okay. But always test. Okay. Go ahead and get everything loaded up. Usually it's multiple files that you're loading up, and then you got the last one to do, or you can come up there and update it. So you can test it, make sure it's working. There are a couple of systems that are just terrible. And I don't want to mention any proprietary names here, but you probably know who they are if you're trying to bid on them. And it's just, they don't work half the time, and it's just a problem.
Right.
So I'm not,
Okay.
I'm a big believer in governments doing themselves.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Man. Any more final questions? Okay, I promised my wife I'd be down for dinner at 6. So that's what we have today. I'm going to be looking at these federal ones. Here's one federal right now. Snow removal in Des Moines. Don't be intimidated by it. This is a streamlined acquisition, straightforward, easy enough to fulfill. Most likely it's going to have something called a form 1449 that you're going to complete. They're going to walk it through. I like to share with you, when you're logged into SAM, you start looking under award notices. There should be, when you're logged in, them said interested vendors list, IVL. Make sure that's on your, bounce around if you don't see it on every one of them, because it's not on all of them, but it needs to, and some of them, especially needs combined synopsis. This means that you're interested. It often, when you submit that you're interested, they get a lot of information about you. Okay. And so you don't have to give them that detail again. Download the information, focus in on the document. Okay. It's not going to be usually too complicated. Okay. Let me just open this one up. I know some of you are ready to get out of here, so you're welcome to do that. Okay. I'm opening it up. Okay. This is definitely the form. Okay. You learn to complete these. You put your offer amount name in here, UEI code. Okay. The amount of your bid. You drop down almost always on these for the supplemental information. And then they'll tell you what they're looking for. Okay. Quotes. You're just going to email it. Nothing formal, nothing complicated.
It's blank. So
what's that? It's blank. Oh, sorry. Thank you for telling me that. Okay. Okay. So here's that form 1449, okay? And usually you do blocks 12, 17, 23, 24, and 30. Sometimes they tell you not to do all of those, okay? And they're telling you in this case here, it's small business. They're going to tell you the NAICS code that you have to have in order to bid. You got to, if you don't have that, go back and add it, okay? Here's your NAICS code, 561790. You just go in there and do your update on your SAM registration before you bid, okay? Put your name in the block, code is your UEI code. Get that SAM, of course. Okay? They don't have a schedule here for you to complete. Okay? Here's the detail. They want you to give them a quote in an email. Okay. Most likely, they're just going to say, hey, send your reps and search. You just log in, SAM, go click on your name of your company, and then you do your reps and search. Okay. It's over on the left hand side. Do your NAICS code. Excuse me, your FAR search. Okay. Called FAR reps and search. And that is basically all this information at the bottom of this. It just says you read it and you checked it all off. Okay. So they're giving you all the rest of this is just stuff, folks. Okay. And you got to go in to pay attention to what they're asking you for, but it's not complicated. It's just ability to follow instructions. Okay. And then you can get the snow removal contract, because half the people who do this get to this point, they look at all this language and they go, oh, this is too much. And remember, when we first started, told you it's hard, it's supposed to be hard. If it wasn't, everybody would do it. Okay. And so I'll leave you that slide if I can get to it. Don't go by that. I might go by that. Let's see. Here's the supposed to be hard. If everybody would easy, everybody would do it. So remember that as you leave today, and have a great evening. And thank you for coming and listening to us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.